This content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill no one.
Wait a second.
Oh, no.
We return to our planet. The High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! This is SeptumSin of SeptumSin versus the World, and today we're doing another film psychoanalysis.
I don't know what they have to say, it makes no difference anyway, whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it.
Here we are today at my work desk, as I have managed to get my office together. Just in time for Horrortales 666 Part 3 from the sleazebox.com. If you wish to pick up your own Blu-ray version of this, stay to the end. This is a 2022 film with directors Derek Barash, Marcello Fabini, Phil Herman, James Panetta, Anthony Piscino, and Joel D. Winecoop.
Here to perform the Oscar-nominated, gorgeously empowering song, Let It Go, from the Oscar-winning animated movie Frozen, please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
A lot of names. So, on this, there's not a lot in special features. The main special feature on this is the trailers for the sleazebox.com. I cannot show you the disc, nor can I show you the back, because, well, YouTube might not like that. So, if you want to know, you should buy it for yourself.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47. It's a trap.
This is an anthology film, and as all anthologies do, it comes with a variety of things, hence all the directors. So let's talk about what's included on this particular film. The first is the wraparound, where you have Joel D. Winecoop playing the burglar again, taking up right from part 2 as he continues to read the stories. He's dealt with one ghost, but he still has one to go. And in order to sate that ghost's lust for vengeance, as he had broken into their house, he has to read more stories. As we know, the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come, motherfucker!
So let's talk about the actual mini-films inside the film. The first is He Who Laughs Last. Joel D. Winecoop is there with his wife, and she is an agoraphobe. So he's going out to earn money to help them live, but what she doesn't know is what horrors await while he is away. The second on this is Death is the Only Option. After a hit is completed, the victim appears to not be as dead as they thought he was. And the person who ordered the hit isn't quite so happy about it. Next is Devious Stratagems. Strategery.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A woman tries to fight back in an abusive relationship, but someone that appears to be her ally may not be the person that she thinks he is. Second to last is The Vessel. A woman contacts a professional to help her deal with a haunted object that she had picked up at an estate sale. But she may have bitten off a little bit more than she can chew. And finally, we have Victoria, which is a silent film about a vampire in quarantine reminiscing about the old days. So let's talk about this as a whole, which is really hard when you think about it because it's an anthology film, but that's what my analysis is for later on. So as a whole, I felt that Devious Stratagems bore a remarkable resemblance to the leading short at the beginning of part 2. May even have a connection. I don't know if it's a direct connection or not, but there's definitely a connection there in some way. There are a lot of creative ideas at work. I mean, having a gang hit, a Nosferatu-style silent film, and even one that appeals to the deaf community. I feel overall the writing is pretty solid, very creative, and you have a nice variety of anthology features here. So, like anything, the advantage of an anthology feature film is that you find something on there that you like. Next is the acting. Well, acting tends to be a mixed bag in these films. This one is not really. I would say that there was no particularly bad acting. There were a couple pieces of note. I mean, Joel Wynkoop, of course, his over-the-top style just nails it. His wife plays well off of him, but you expect that to be so. And that's how it is in most of these films. If you see him and his wife on screen, they play off excellently with each other. And I'd say that Devious Stratagems is one that I would put out as a highlight of the films for the acting. I thought they did really well. A lot of the characters were very believable. It just really hit it. And then, of course, finally, I mean, having Victoria, that miming where she's just kind of rubbing her belly like this, a couple of things. Having to do a silent film is very different than a talkie, and we don't have very many silent films these days, so it's really cool to see this start, and they did this in work, really. So finally, let's talk about the production design. Overall, I'd say it's really good. Down from the cheesy effects that we see in a lot of Joel D. Wynkoop productions with the aliens and a lot of the costumes from, say, Craiglon Incident. And then, of course, this film as a whole upped the game. Sound quality, much better. Part 2, I don't know what happened to some of that, but this one really upped the game. I also thought that a lot of the stuff was really good, from the environmental of Devious Stratagems, or just the creepiness that they portrayed with the lighting effects and minor makeup design in The Vessel. This one kept me up throughout. There may not be any singular piece like that melting face on the second film, but this one keeps it up as a pretty high bar overall. I'd say when it comes to low budget features, this one takes a pretty good piece. Of course, the Donner Party. Can't talk about a Horrortales film without talking about the Donner Party. And again, they do very well. Who knows? Maybe we'll see something like a Galore in one of these films. It is not that far off, in my opinion. Also, the background tunes are pretty good when those films that use them. Victoria, you had to have music, and I thought the music went very well for something like that. And the sound design and effects on The Vessel really helped amp up the tension. I was quite impressed in that regard.
You're not welcome here.
So overall thoughts. Horrortales 666 has been an interesting journey for me. Anthology films were always fun to experience, as you really never know what you're going to get. Here, it is much of the same, as the topics are across the board and hit you from various areas like silent films, vampire movies, gang hits, anywhere you can look out. Out of the trilogy, this is probably my second favorite film because I will always have a soft spot for the first one. But as far as execution, I would say this is probably the best of the three, hands down. It improves in every level. I would recommend. So, who are the people I recommend Horrortales 666 Part 3 to? No, not Part 3 2, but, 2 like T-O-O. You know what I mean.
Rolling away.
I'd say anybody who likes low-budget horror, you can't go wrong. If you are just a fan of any other works by Joel Wynkoop, Phil Herman, any of these particular actors, you will like this. In general, I think you will have fun with this feature. If you're all about big budget effects and stuff, of course, why are you here? Before I'm done, let me go ahead and tell you where to get this. You can go to thesleazebox.com, which I will reference in a link down below. And it's reasonably priced. Hey, get all three if you haven't. It's well worth your time. So I'm done with the series for now. Lord knows I'll be back again for Part 4, as this series will forever pull me back. Because the best is yet to come. Well, that's it for now, but I'm going to show you a nice little trailer as we prepare for the film Psychoanalysis. Spoiler warning, I would suggest you watch the film ahead of this, or if you do not care about spoilers, feel free to join me in a few. But for now, here's a trailer. Enjoy.
The ghost said if I read all the stories, then I could leave. What's that? He dives off the stage in a homicidal rage and thrashes around with a knife. If you jump in the pit, you better watch who you hit. There's a chance that you might lose your life. Off the stage, a new kick. His whole offense is sick. We won't stop till there's blood on the floor. Explodes in the mix, sets you with an ice pick, then leads right through the exit door. Serial thrasher laughs at the sound of your cries. Serial thrasher lifts the sight of fear in your eyes. Serial thrasher, you tough guys had better beware. Serial thrasher lives your life without a care. Ha! An unbalanced man when he hears a sick band, the music makes him lose control. You can tell he's not right, so through the scene at night, his gaze pierces right through your soul. Toss that hairspray away or he'll ruin your day. He can tell if you're real or you're fake. Chops from town to town, never sticking around. There's a trail of victims in his wake. Serial thrasher laughs at the sound of your cries. Serial thrasher lifts the sight of fear in your eyes. Serial thrasher, you tough guys had better beware. I'm gonna read the last story.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess now we should get into the psychoanalysis portion of our film. Of course, again, warning, spoilers. I'm analyzing every piece of this film. I'm taking a look at it. I'm going to go through it piece by piece. So, I'd like to think that's a no-brainer. But Watch the film, come back. You don't care about spoilers? Watch this. Who knows? Maybe it'll give you a little extra.
Let's get dangerous.
So let's get started. This movie starts with your sleazebach intro for 10 years of the sleaze. Long live the Sleaze Fest. But let's get into the actual film. But it is something you see when you hit play. Of course, what Horrortales movie would it be without an opening with a musical ballad by the Donner Party? I gotta love these guys. I have never met them, but they sound like fun. It looks like they would have a fun concert experience. They definitely look like they'd bring it. I am definitely right back in there with it. So we're getting a kind of a continuation of the end of the second film, where our burglar is about to read the final story for our second film. So, as far as Joel does, I mean, he is a great actor, and overacting, I know, is a real forte for him when it comes to, well, just comedy in general. It's great. So, our first of our vignettes is He Who Laughs Last. So the scene starts with a man and wife talking about how he has to go out for work. His wife is agoraphobic and can't leave the house. I love all the nerd stuff in this room. You got the Superman door cover and the Captain Kirk cutout. The household, and I've seen this again and again, it just is a great thing just to search the scene to see what you can find. So not even a moment after she leaves, she hears this sound and decides to investigate. You know, oh, wonder what that noise is type thing. She opens the window, sees nothing. Goes back, and one of the aliens from the Craiglon incident seems to be harassing her. But of course, at the doorbell, she sees a man wearing a mask outside her door, and she's freaking out. She keeps seeing these figures in the shadows, so locks herself in the bathroom to kind of run it out, but then realizes she's not alone as this werewolf kind of jumps out. So the husband comes home to find his wife dead. Note the Batman cutout. And it appears that he's been doing this whole thing the entire time, just so he can collect on her inheritance. But quickly he realizes he's not the only one involved, as the werewolf again jumps out of the tub where he's hiding and presumably takes him out. So Joel also seems to have this insight into the story. He's like, oh, the werewolf was actually really there the whole time. So Joel is really overjoyed when he finishes the last story. He gets ready to leave. But as he gets ready to go, he gets a call from his business partner asking for a cut of things. But it seems strange because his partner was killed. But I guess he was wrong. But then he realized, nope, he's right. He really is dead. As he adds the famous line, the best is yet to come. I've got to capture one of these lines and I got to put it in there because that's just perfect.
The best is yet to come, motherfucker!
I do kind of like the filters used. It is kind of cool. It kind of gives them more of a spectral light, and this is used multiple times throughout the film. So he tries to leave anyway, but the owner of the house, I'm guessing that's the owner, who's played by his wife, shows up and says, you got to read more stories. You satisfied the one ghost, now it is the other. And she's much harsher than the other one. The other one's kind of there, but and kind of on his case. And I talked about this in my analysis of part 2, but she's even worse. I even like how she's making fun of him. You know, he's going, ghost, as like he's pronouncing it.
Ghost? 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 Ghost?
It's great. They kind of make fun of themselves as they go through. They really are a good pair. They act well off of each other. It is fun to watch them. there is a lot of repetition where they go over and over and over again. And I'll give you an example of that here.
Best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come.
And that's just a small example. They kind of take it a little bit further later on. But let's get into death is the only option. So a group of assassins, they finish this hit on this guy who gives them an ominous warning before they fill him full of lead and bury him. They talk about making money on this other job and bailing on a job. So the main character in this does appear to be an asshole and kind of deserving of what he gets. So he gets this body disposal job and then gets a call from one of his crew saying, hey, the guy that they killed has been seen walking around alive, and the guy who hired them to kill the guy is now out for revenge because he thinks he ran out on their money. So during this time, they kind of just go on this hit spree, killing their partners, then killing his family. So he's sitting there kind of holding his kid in his arms, and he's just like, how dare it, I gotta get revenge. One thing to note is when his father is sitting there, he's trying to talk to his father, tell him to get to hide. He's watching the Santa Claus scene from part 2, which was one of my favorite vignettes. I like this. It's just, that part was just hilarious. But once he sees his child is dead, he's going out for revenge, but he realizes the guy he killed is actually a vampire, and the body he picked up was actually the guy who's been patiently waiting for him to get back into the car to complete his vengeance. So this story kind of took me off guard on the repeat viewings. I admit I had kind of been sleepy on some of them, so I had missed the opening for some of it, so I felt very differently once I got to see it a couple of times.
Yeah. Gentlemen, Ciccolini here may talk like an idiot and look like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot.
I didn't feel nearly as sorry for the guy. I still wanted revenge on the killers, but hey, at least you got some revenge on what he's doing and one less slime ball in the world, I guess.
And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Please.
But I can see where the burglar identifies with him.
Aw, shit, Jimmy. I feel for you, brother. I feel for you.
So again, repetition. Goes a little bit longer, but, you know, is what it is. I do like how they do start it with him hearing a scream. Once he says, screams are heard.
Screams are heard?
As he's reading out the story. Just a little bit of the ghost messing with him. So that leads us into devious stratagems. I swear this is an offshoot of the first story from Part 2. It just feels that way. So you got this woman arriving home, and you kind of see this figure in the window moving. I love her decorations. I liked it when I saw it in the first movie with the clown, and I do like it here too. Just such a cool house, a lot of cool stuff. Much like with the burglar's place, this one just awesome. So she apparently gets a delivery at the door, which is a copy of Horrortales 666 Part 2. I know that one. And is ambushed. I'm guessing that they used the copy of the film. He was just carrying it on him. The killer was at the time.
Hardly complimentary, Your Highness.
And it was kind of funny. And she's talking about, like, I took a course in self-defense. But as he's getting ready to kill her, she does that line, I want my money back. I wasn't taught how to handle the situation. It was great. Great opening for an interesting story, because it then starts with this woman talking to the guy that she's having an affair with. They're planning to escape, you know, I'm gonna, you know, do well, because, you know, it is. And this guy, he shows that he's kind of not who she thinks he is, because the woman that he's with, he talks with her and then ends up going off and killing her. So back to our lady main character, as her dick of a husband shows up and, you know, does what any horrid person does, beating her up, raping her, just, you know, all the things to make you just love the guy. So she ends up getting this idea where she fakes taking a bunch of pills and leaves this suicide note there, just enough to make it to where she goes near unconscious. Her hope is that he'll see the corpse and take off. Now, there's definite nudity here. Her reasoning is, oh, well, he gets to see what he's missing out on. Well, I guess he didn't, because he's like, okay, well, might as well screw the corpse before it gets too cold, before I take off.
You fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
Which she comes to life, and he presumably collapses from a heart attack. At least that's what I think happened. So she's all excited, calling her lover, but he's been taken into police custody. He's been murdering a lot of people, and meanwhile, he comes back, and the husband comes back and takes her out. One thing I thought was interesting is that there's a picture of Eddie Munster on the mantle with Grandpa Munster, and and the police officer is sitting there talking to her. I don't know what that's about, but that's just an interesting little flourish there. So I like this one a bit better than the previous kind of version of this. It's very interesting. I think, Phil Herman is the one starring in this, literally like he was in the previous. I think that his acting is pretty good in this, and again, I wonder if these are interconnected. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they are in a way, or if maybe this is just a kind of a newer take on that story. Because this one, I think, is better executed. It makes more sense to me. It's just, in general, a pretty decent film.
That's just a theorizing. A game theorizing.
So, burglar decides, I'm going for a snack. This ghost says, I'm not like the other one. You ain't getting a snack. Read the darn stories. Maybe I'll let you go, but you got to read them. And then gets all loud, making him go deaf as he reads The Vessel. So this starts with the arrival of a woman, very much in the vein of The Exorcist. She's kind of just arriving at this house. I love that right away. You know that one of the women is deaf. It's subtitled all the way, so you can read what's going on. You know what's going on, even if you can't hear very well. As somebody who's somewhat hard of hearing, it did make me happy that at least this one I could definitely hear 100%.
Oh, I am enjoying this scene.
Get on with it!
I do think that most of these films should get subtitles, but they don't always.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
One of the things I did when I did a first impressions view of Ghostquake, I even commented it was great to have subtitles for the film. So in any case, the woman explains through her partner of this vase she got at an estate sale, and this strange entity is haunting the house. You got a lot of odd imagery that I'm not sure how that relates. I guess it's just kind of explaining feelings and stuff like that. But I do love that you see these scenes where the entity is stalking her throughout the house. A lot of good use of darkness to build the tension, a little bit of makeup, and you get to see more of that as it moves further. So it seems like there is a difference in beliefs between the two partners. One of them, the one who is deaf, she doesn't believe in ghosts, but her partner does. So it's kind of there. And eventually it shows the partner even also sees this entity when messing with the vase. The expert says it's not a ghost, it's a demon, and they managed to identify the demon's name as Matilda.
Get used to disappointment.
Great name for a demon. So, the next scene is just her exorcist smoking and talking about like why she does it and all this, and I feel like that's probably the only thing dragging this one down. It is probably my favorite on this, but that just, I feel like it's unnecessary. It's just kind of padding, because once she gets back in, she tries to dispatch the demon, but demon quickly dispatches her. She kind of loses her head. I know, pet joke. So it is interesting that they made the burglar death also for this story. Because this was just in general a great one. It ends with our non-believer becoming a kind of believer as she confronts, and I'm guessing takes out the demon with a good question mark at the end. But the ghost, of course, lets him know, look, you only got one more story to go, then you can leave. So you better try it. And restores his hearing, which is great. Which is funny because she restores the hearing for a silent film, which is called Victoria. Now this one, I think, is very Nosferatu inspired, not just in the visuals, but the makeup as well. We open with these cryptic scenes of death in a dark house, and this vampire... Okay. This vampire, and you got the scene with the vampire and this vampire bat kind of looking like very Nosferatu-like makeup here. And you get the story and the background about how she had to leave her country because her appetite kept drawing attention, and how she had to go traveling all around because of this, and then ended up in this country where they are quarantining. And I love the story cards. Again, it's great seeing that, and kind of the whole thing where she's rubbing her tummy as a expression of how hungry she is, especially with the fact that they're isolated, so she's not able to do as much. And then this dude comes in, he's on the run, he says he's kind of hiding out because he was cheating at poker and ended up basically being called in his bluff. And it's kind of great how they do turn the tables on this, with him being a werewolf and eating her. So, you know, it does get that. It got a little laugh out of me at the end. So our burglar gets free, and she lets him go, like, you better get out while I still, you know, feel like doing this. And he ends up hearing all these voices and laughter in his head, like this whole thing has driven him mad. He ends up running into a field where he's abducted by aliens. They're eating something. Maybe they're eating him. I don't know, but it's got all this eating sounds. And the alien ends with that whole thing, the best is yet to come. And of course, we end with the Donner Party, as we would. And as we wait for the analysis of Horrortales 666, Part 4. So this is an interesting third film in our current trilogy. I feel like 2 and 3 are more closely linked than 1, but I do think it's kind of cool. I'm glad that we got through this, and I'm sure this other one's going to be kind of a different animal all in itself. 3 improved a lot on a lot of the issues from Part 2, especially the sound quality. I did think that even the quality of the shorts was improved, though there were some that were pretty impressive, and 2, like the alien melting. I would still prefer that the titles of the short films be mentioned in the film. I just don't know. I like that thing. I like knowing where it is. I don't like having to scan through the credits for this. But I think that Horrortales 666 has staying power, and it may continue to be seen as the series continues. Well, this has been SeptumSin. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment below to let me know what you think of Horrortales 666 Part 3. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.